Hello, I'm David Hardesty. In this lecture, we continue our study of substantial nexus by examining the special case of cliques and mortar groups. If you have not already studied the lecture on the basics of substantial nexus, please do so before continuing with this lecture. There is only one objective for this lecture. The objective is to understand when an online seller has nexus in a state as a result of the activities of stores in a state, when those stores are owned and operated by a related company. First, let's set up the fact situation. Clothes Inc. is a clothing retailer that owns and operates stores in State A. Clothes.com Inc. is an online retailer of clothing. Clothes.com is operated from premises in State B and does not itself have any physical presence in State A. In this fact situation, Clothes Inc. owns all of the stock of Clothes.com. Clothes Inc. and Clothes.com Inc. sell similar and in some cases the same clothing, and this fact is known by the customers of the two companies. Clothes Inc. and Clothes.com also use similar trade names and trademarks. Given this fact situation, is the presence of Clothes Inc. stores in State A attributed to Clothes.com Inc. for purposes of determining whether Clothes.com Inc. has substantial nexus in State A? As discussed in the text at 14.036c, the presence of a related company's stores in a state will probably not be automatically attributed to a related company for the purpose of determining if there is substantial nexus. There is no per se nexus as a result of the presence of a related company's stores in a state.
Having said this, at least one state, Arkansas, has enacted statutes that cause an out-of-state seller to have nexus in the state if it is affiliated with and shares certain attributes with an in-state company.
Under this statute, Clothes.com would have nexus in State A as a result of the presence of the stores. Whether the Arkansas statute is constitutional is not clear. As explained in the text at 14.036h, in the case Current v. SPE, a case involving a California statute similar to the Arkansas statute, the California statute was found to be unconstitutional. Putting aside the Arkansas statute, the following are the probable requirements for nexus. As discussed in the text at 14.036b, if one company operates stores in a state and an affiliated out-of-state online company with no physical presence in the state sells to customers in that state, nexus results only when the in-state stores act as agents of the online company. In the fact situation presented, the State A stores must act as agents for Clothes.com before State A can assert that clothes.com has nexus for use tax purposes in State A. What does it mean for in-state stores to act as agents for online stores? One of the most common arguments used by states to assert agency is the acceptance of merchandise returns by in-state stores. Probably the most common factor that can support an argument that an in-state store acts as an online company's agents is the acceptance by the store of merchandise returns for customers of the online store. Under some circumstances, discussed in detail in the text at 14.036e, the acceptance of merchandise returns can result in the online company having substantial nexus in the states where stores accept returns. Whether acceptance of returns results in nexus turns primarily on the motivation of the store in accepting the returns. As discussed in the text at 14.036e2i, if the in-state store accepts returns on its own behalf, then nexus may not result. A store manager may be motivated to accept returns of merchandise purchased from an online seller, whether the seller is related or not, in order to keep an existing customer happy or to create goodwill with a potential new customer. If, on the other hand, returns are accepted primarily to benefit the online company, then nexus can result. For example, if a store manager is required to accept returns of merchandise from an online affiliate, regardless of whether acceptance of the returns will benefit that manager's store, then the store may be deemed to be acting primarily on behalf of the online store in accepting returns, which can create an agency relationship and nexus in the state for the online store. Another key factor is the number of returns. As discussed in the text at 14.036ei, if there is only a minimal number of merchandise returns, then acceptance of returns by in-state stores may not result in nexus, while acceptance of a large number of returns may be the determining factor in a finding that nexus exists. A key case involving merchandise returns is Borders Online. As discussed in the text at 14.036e4, Borders Online is a California case where Borders bookstores accepted merchandise returns from customers of Borders Online. Borders Online was a separate corporation affiliated with the corporation that owned and operated the bookstores. Borders Online did not itself have any physical presence in California. The deciding factor in this case was the fact that Borders bookstores gave cash refunds for merchandise returned by customers of Borders Online. Borders bookstores also accepted merchandise returns from customers of unrelated retailers, but in these latter cases, the bookstores gave only store credit, not cash refunds. The court held that giving preferential treatment to Borders Online customers caused the bookstores to be the agents of Borders Online, which resulted in Borders Online having substantial nexus in California. The underlying theory was that the bookstores acted on behalf of Borders Online, not themselves, when they gave cash refunds. Acceptance of merchandise returns is not the only thing that can cause a state to assert nexus. In BN.com, California asserted nexus when Barnes & Noble stores in the state distributed coupons that could be used when making purchases from a related company, BN.com. BN.com operated an online store and had no physical presence in California. The state of California asserted that BN.com had nexus in California because the stores were selling on behalf of the online company. The case went into great detail in defining selling activities, and the distribution of coupons was determined to be selling. However, in this case, which is discussed in the text at 14.036F4 and 14.036F5, while the case agreed that the distribution of coupons was selling, the court determined that the stores were not selling on behalf of BN.com. Accordingly, the stores were not the agents of the online company, and their selling activities did not result in nexus for BN.com.